Hello, and welcome back to another Chris McPherson Show, Daily Dose, and it's time to talk some NRL, and the finals are heating right up. The preliminary finals are in the rear-view mirror, and we have our grand finalists decided. Of course, if you are tuning in and watching us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe down below. Hit the bell as well. You'll get notifications on all of our videos, whether Daily Dose, Around the Grounds, or anything else that we're dropping on a recurring basis. But as I said, we're here to talk NRL preliminary finals, to look ahead to the grand final. And I'm joined by a very happy Queenslander in JR Carter. JR, welcome on to the first Daily Dose I think we've seen you on.
This is my first appearance on a Daily Dose. So, yeah, thank you. And look, it is a great day to be a Brisbane fan in both codes.
It certainly is. Let's go back to the start of the weekend and we'll talk through Friday night's game. And I guess the honorary Queenslanders, as they basically are, the Melbourne Storm, a huge win for them. Jerome Hughes returning just 22 days after fracturing his arm. He had a huge influence, scored a solo try and pushed on through. Cameron Munster was class for them as well. And it was really just the steady hand from Munster, their defensive resolve and pressure standing up for them, especially in the second half when the contest tightened up. But the Sharks just couldn't find a way through. Munster and Pappenheisen holding up a likely Sharks try inches from the line, and the Storm's repeat sets on the Sharks line, testing Cronulla's composure. It was all then sealed by Xavier Coates grabbing the killer try with about 5 minutes to go to put the result beyond reach. And look, the Sharks hung in, but they lacked that finishing polish. They stayed within striking distance for much of the second half, but just a few errors, a few missed chances, didn't see it turn out their way. And I think the big takeaway from this, JR, this sends the Storm to their 11th grand final under Craig Bellamy, a record that is almost not replicated anywhere in world sport.
Yeah, it's just an amazing effort from old Bellyache. Like, you can imagine just like how many times he's lost his temper along the way. But like, this is great news for the Melbourne Storm. It's great news for Queensland football in general. Like, with Melbourne being effectively a Queensland-fed team, having these two teams in the grand final, just a testament to the product that's being developed up in Queensland at the moment.
It is testament also for Melbourne. They won the Jersey Flegg today, so that's ominous. So they are at the under-20s competition for New South Wales, so they're marching in the right direction as well. The juniors coming through are going to be ominous as the Storm just continue this dominant run. But they will head to the grand final well rested. There was a lot of controversy. We talked about this with Ben Dunn during the week around the fact that they'll get an extra 2 days rest, and they'll get an extra 2 days rest after finishing that game in what appeared to be fourth gear versus a Brisbane side who managed to book their way through to the grand final against all sorts of odds, including the Panthers played a clinical first half, leading 14-0, and Brisbane looked done and dusted. But for the second time in as many matches, they came back from a greater than 2-try deficit in the last 20 minutes of a fixture, doing so again today to come back and win that one by a bare margin of 2 points. It had a bit of everything, JR. We saw, as I said, Penrith getting out to that flying start, the Broncos fighting back, Reece Walsh missing a relatively easy kick after their second try, and then all of a sudden Adam Reynolds stepping up, coming back from that hamstring injury and just slotting it calm and composed when it was 14-all with only about 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's right. Look, the theatrics Walsh was putting on, like he was sort of contained very well, like throughout a lot of these sets as well, like where it was very rare that he was sort of making his presence known. And then unfortunately, like he didn't have a lot of success with the boot today, leading to, I dare say, a decision to have Reynolds take that last kick. But all in all, like the Broncos have just shown that resilience, like where they've gotten their asses handed to them in that first half. Like, I'm watching the screen going, is this it? Like, is this season over? Like, do I wrap up now? I thought, no, I'll watch through. I'll keep going. And then just that last 20 minutes just all came alive.
Well, second halves are obviously a Queensland thing at the moment. We saw the Lions yesterday go to halftime against the Cats all level and then blew them off the park. A little bit of a different result, as you said. It's been all things, it's like that scene in The Simpsons where everything's coming up Millhouse when he's got his three-quarter pants on. Brisbane are dead set rocking their three-quarter pants in all the sports, and they are firing so well. The belief that's in this team, some of the efforts in that game today, as you said, Reece Walsh just picked a few moments. He was a key, contributor in that last try. But there was some errors from the Broncos that made you think that they were done and dusted, but they just fought back. And I think Payne Haas, a non-Queenslander playing for Brisbane, was the epitome of this, playing 80 minutes. There was a point there late in the second half where they needed to hang on to after a repeat set to Penrith. Penrith tried to roll a kick in, and here all of a sudden, who's the person in scrambling cover defence, diving on the ball and conceding a goal line dropout? But Payne Haas, who's 70 minutes into an 80-minute stint, he gets up, he's bleeding from his eyelid. He is just an absolute warrior and a machine, and was such a key part of this win too. Everyone's going to talk about the Walshes, the Ezra Mams, these sorts of players, the Mariner who scored that try, but I think a lot of this was Payne Haas and his just grind and hustle and effort and work rate.
Yeah, it was something else to see because he was under heavy cramp when that dropout occurred, like the wannabe dropout occurred, I should say. And he's got back to his feet. He's just back doing sets again. It's just amazing to watch. And just the resilience Brisbane have put on, if they can take that sort of attitude into next week, we're in really great shape to see Brisbane hold both trophies this year.
Yeah, well, there's certainly an opportunity. They've got one. They've got the AFL Premiership. They could take that away from Melbourne and the NRL away from Sydney. That was back-to-back in the AFL, obviously. But a lot to determine, a lot to work out as we get through. I think Jordan Ricky looks like he's going to be out of action, copping a HIA and missing the remainder of the game. So he will be under the stand-down policy. And it's an interesting one because we saw the same thing in the AFL, but for one of the Geelong players. And that becomes a talking point now, JR, as to whether we should go down the NFL route and have a week off in between the preliminary finals and the grand final so that players aren't automatically forced to be a stand down. But my query to that is some sports have now gone to 16 and 19-day protocols. So if we go down that route later, then we just negate the gap anyway. But maybe we go that route. We have a Pro Bowl, an All-Star game or something. As long as there's not just no football, we need to build that festival. I'm just not sure how it would work, though, for momentum. It would fix our issue, though, of the extra 2 days rest a little. Yeah,
with that said, though, it's a really tough one because the AFL had that week off in their final series in the last few years as well, and it just took all the momentum out of the season, I felt.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think if we do it pre-finals, then you end up with a lot of the teams doing what the Raiders did this year, and as you said, that clearly cost them momentum when they rested everyone in round 27. But having it before the grand final, whether that doesn't have the same momentum, teams aren't going to rest players into the prelim. But again, how do you maintain then the hype and the pace and everything? You could probably get a lot more events into a, what would ostensibly be a 13 to 14 to 15 day, depending on when you play in the lead up rest period. But it also means our season then likely runs into mid-October, or alternatively, we don't have any games, which some people might say might be positive on this weekend, which would be up against the AFL Grand Final weekend. I think to your sort of allusion there, though, what you've alluded to, is that there's no perfect answer. It doesn't matter what you do. Someone's going to be unhappy because that's how sports fans are.
That's exactly right.
Well, we know the one thing, the October long weekend in New South Wales will feature the Melbourne Storm up against the Brisbane Broncos on neutral territory at Accor Stadium. It's going to be an absolute cracker next Sunday evening. It's going to be a huge game. It'll be interesting to see how ticket sales are influenced by the fact that we've got travel. One thing, JR, that will be undoubtedly a moan factor for Victorians and Queenslanders trying to get down to Sydney is that I'm sure that Qantas, Jetstar and Virgin have already jacked up their prices.
Oh, I assure you that they have. We're fortunate. I'm fortunate enough that I'm based in the sort of New South Wales sort of bubble where I could possibly, if I really wanted to get down to this game, I think it's on the cards at this point. I'll get down there. But for those travelling interstate, it's going to be an absolute nightmare.
It certainly is. Well, it is the end of what was a Penrith dynasty of runs. People thought, even late in that game, as you said, JR, that they would be there. But next Sunday, Brisbane, after another epic comeback. How do they do it on a short turnaround, just 7 days, up against a Melbourne team that has the extra couple of days? As we said, they've done it on a 14-day turnaround coming back from that epic game against Canberra. But there's got to be huge belief in them as they head into this grand final, knowing that even if there's 10 to go and they're down by double digits, they've got the ability to claw it back. But I'm really looking forward to it. We've got Reece Walsh, Ezra Mam, Ben Hunt. We saw some magic from him today as well. Adam Reynolds coming up against that magic spine for the Storm. Harry Grant, Cameron Munster. We've got Jerome Hughes back fit. We saw Pappenheisen get through as well. Then you've got the big forward pack. Stefano Utokumano stood up for Melbourne, coming up against Payne Haas. This is a mouthwatering clash as a neutral. I don't know how your nerves are going to be as the week gets on, but I'm certainly looking forward to the week, the build-up, and I'm sure you're just going to keep telling yourself maybe 2 trophies going back to Brisbane.
Look, if 2 trophies go back to Brisbane, it will be, I believe it'll be the first time it's actually occurred as well. There was the potential for it a few years ago, which both teams coughed up the pill there. But if I remember correctly, Brisbane, the Broncos certainly did. But yeah, and it's a chance for redemption for Ben Hunt. That's what this really is. So from the last grand final he featured in as a Bronco, where unfortunately his pass handed the Cowboys that victory that year, This is his chance for grand final redemption.
Yes, that drop ball in Golden Point against the Cowboys. Who can forget it? Another non-New South Wales featuring grand final that didn't go Brisbane's way. They haven't had a great record, but it is also the chance for Madge, Michael Maguire, the coach of the Broncos, to complete his trophy sweep, remembering that in 2023, he, of course, lifted the Pacific Nations Cup with the New Zealand side over Australia. 2024, he led New South Wales to an Origin Series win. And then 2025, can he make it the perfect slam for himself with the NRL trophy? He wasn't going to do it with the Tigers. Maybe he can do it with the Broncos. But either way, we'll be keeping you up to date. We'll be talking more NRL in the lead up to the grand final. As always, JR Carter, thank you to you.
No worries at all, Chris.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. As I said at the start, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and give us a follow across your social media platforms, whether it's X, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Just search The Chris Mack Show and you'll find us. But until next time, thank you for tuning into your home of the black and white of sport. No greys here, and we'll talk to you again soon.